The alien empress traced the scar on my skin and whispered, "So, it was you I've searched for across the stars." Beginning, the scar and the stranger. The colony world of Aurelia 3 was a place of routine. Dust storms swept across its copper plains, domed cities glimmered faintly under twin suns, and people like me, just another mechanic, just another scarred veteran, lived quiet lives. I had done my fighting years ago in the border wars. A plasma strike had nearly ended me. It left behind a scar running jagged across my chest, from collarbone to ribs. The medics had saved me, but the mark was permanent, a reminder of survival and of things I tried not to remember. Life had settled into something simple, repairing atmospheric regulators, calibrating drones, keeping machinery alive on a world too harsh for mistakes. I thought my fighting days and the ghosts that came with them were long behind me, until the day the alien empress arrived. Her people, the Veari, rarely left their empire's heart worlds. They were beings of luminous skin, eyes that glowed faintly like molten gold, voices that could shift from music to thunder in a single word. And yet, there she was, stepping through the docking bay as if the universe bent itself around her. Her name was whispered, Empress Sarilith. The colony governor greeted her with practiced diplomacy. Soldiers bowed. Civilians watched from a distance. I should have kept walking. I should have minded my work. But as her gaze swept the crowd, her eyes, those impossible golden eyes, stopped on me. And for the briefest moment, it felt like the suns themselves had turned to stare. The recognition. It began with coincidence. At least, that's what I told myself. I found her in the hangar bay 2 days later, studying the engines of our outdated ships. She was no aloof ruler then. She asked questions, traced designs with her fingers, and listened when I explained how we kept old machines alive. She lingered near me more often after that. In the governor's hall, she would drift to my side. In the gardens under the dome, she would sit where I repaired drones. She spoke to many, but when she spoke to me, her voice softened. And yet, beneath her grace, there was something else, an intensity, a searching. One evening, when the suns had dipped low and shadows stretched long across the colony walls, she asked me to walk with her beyond the dome. The wind howled across the plains, tugging at her silken robes, but she moved as if the storm bowed before her. We found shelter among the rocks, and she turned to me with a question that caught my breath. "How did you earn your scar?" I froze. No one asked that. Not here. Not with that look in their eyes. "I survived a war," I said at last, voice rough. "That's all it is. A reminder." Her hand, impossibly gentle, brushed my chest. The touch of her fingers against the scar sent a shiver through me, not of fear, but of something deeper, older, as if the universe itself was holding its breath. Her golden eyes widened, shimmering with something between shock and wonder. And then she whispered the words that would change everything. "So, it was you after all these years." The revelation. She told me a story then, one I could scarcely believe. Decades ago, before she wore the crown of the Veari, she had fought incognito in the same border wars where I had nearly died. Disguised, hidden, a commander without a title, seeking to understand the galaxy beyond her empire's walls. She remembered the night her battalion had been ambushed. Fire lit the skies, soldiers fell, and amidst the chaos, a human soldier had thrown himself between her and the burning wreckage. He had carried her to safety, bleeding, broken, but alive. She had never forgotten the sight of his chest marked by flame and shrapnel, a scar carved by sacrifice. She had searched for him ever since, and now, standing in the storm of a distant colony, her hand upon my scar, She knew. I was the one. Conflict. The weight of a crown. From that moment, everything changed. She sought me openly now, inviting whispers through the colony. A mechanic walking beside an empress. It made no sense. Her advisors frowned. The governor stammered. Soldiers looked away. But Sarilith cared nothing for their murmurs. Still, I struggled. I was no courtier, no noble, no figure of legend. I was just a man who had once survived where others had not. To be near her felt like standing too close to a star, warming, yes, but terrifying in its power. And then came the danger. The Vayari Empire was not united in peace. Factions saw her interest in humanity as weakness, an opening to strike. An assassin slipped through the colony's defenses one night, a blade of crystalline venom aimed at her heart. I intercepted him. The fight was brutal, quick, desperate. I walked away bloodied, but alive. The assassin did not. When she saw me broken and bleeding again, she knelt at my side, voice fierce as fire. I will not lose you twice. Climax. Choosing the stars. Her council demanded she return to her empire. They warned her against scandal, against weakness, against love. But Sarilith stood before them, radiant and unyielding. I was saved by a scarred soldier when I was no one. And now, as empress, I choose him again. If the stars themselves burn at my choice, let them burn. And then she turned to me. I wanted to tell her no, that I was unworthy, that she deserved someone greater. But the look in her eyes silenced every protest. It was not a command, not an imperial decree. It was a plea. So I gave her my truth. I don't know how to be the man you think I am, I whispered. But if you'll have me, I'll try. Her smile then was brighter than both suns combined. Ending. Across the stars. The day she left Aurelia, 3, I left with her. The mechanic's tools I had carried for years were replaced by the weight of something greater, a place beside the empress of 1,000 worlds. Yet when she looked at me, she did not see a servant or a subject. She saw the man who had once carried her through fire. Sometimes, in quiet moments aboard her flagship, she would trace the scar on my chest again, her voice a whisper only I could hear. It was you. It was always you. And in those moments, I no longer felt like a scarred soldier or a man unworthy of her crown. I felt like what I had always been to her, her chosen. Not the savior of an empire. Not the hero of wars. Simply, the one she had searched for across the stars.